equals the sound of the bell ringing at Maplewood High filled me with a mix of frustration and relief. It was the end of a long day filled with the usual whirlwind of jibes and whispers, but it also meant I could finally escape this prison designed for adolescents. I shoved my books into my worn-out backpack, letting the weight of them thud against my back as I stepped into the hallway, the noise of laughter and chatter enveloping me like a thick fog. Maplewood was painted in hues of beige and gray, its dull walls decorated only by the occasional poster reminding us of the next dance or volunteer opportunities. What a thrilling place, I thought bitterly, rolling my eyes at the sight of a cheerful flyer promoting the spring dance. As I walked towards the exit, I could feel the eyes of my classmates darting in my direction, some giggles escaping here and there like tiny daggers. "Look, it's Clara the clown," one of the girls whispered loudly to her friends, her painted face twisted with mockery. I clenched my fists tightly, the tips of my fingers pressing against the rough fabric of my jeans. It was not the first time I had been the target of taunts, but today felt particularly suffocating. I could still hear the remnants of their laughter as I stepped outside, the sun glaring down at me like it was judging my every move. "Just keep walking," I murmured to myself, focusing on the rough pavement beneath my sneakers. The scent of fresh-cut grass filled the air, mixing with the faint, sweet smell of early spring blossoms. I inhaled deeply, trying to calm the swirling emotions in my chest. The path home wound through the park, a place that I used to love as a child, where laughter came easily and imagination knew no bounds. Now the park felt more like a reminder of what I was missing. I settled on a lonely bench, the wood splintery beneath me, and pulled out my phone, flipping through the photos of happier days, faces I recognized but no longer felt close to. "Clara, is that you?" The sudden voice drew me from my thoughts, and I turned to see Mia, a girl who used to be my best friend before her world became filled with the popular crowd and I became a mere shadow in her life. She rushed towards me, her long brown hair bouncing as she ran. "I thought that might be you. Are you okay?" "You seemed really down in class." "Just tired," I replied curtly, not wanting to reveal too much of my inner turmoil. I wasn't ready to rehash the day's insults. Mia tilted her head, concern flashing in her emerald eyes. "You know I always have your back. If anyone bothers you, just tell me, okay? I will." "No, really, I am fine," I interjected, plastering a smile on my face that felt forced. "It's just school. You know how it gets." She frowned slightly, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind, the doubt creeping into her expression. "Okay, but if you need someone to talk to." "I know, thank you, but I really need to head home." I stood abruptly, the bench creaking in protest. I couldn't bear to see the concern on her face. It only served as a reminder of how alone I felt. "Wait, Clara." Her voice dripped with hesitation, but I waved her off, pulling my backpack over my shoulder and walking away without looking back. Each step onward felt like shedding a layer of weight, but even as I moved further away, I could almost hear the playful whispers of my classmates in my ear, taunting and mocking me. I shoved the thoughts aside and focused on the rhythmic crunch of gravel beneath my shoes, imagining each step was a loud voice pushing me forward. Nothing felt real. It was as though I were walking through a dream, a hazy gray mist that blurred everything but the goal of getting home. I stumbled upon the street leading to my neighborhood, surrounded by tree-lined sidewalks and rows of neat little houses. It was quiet, almost calming, but the feeling of despair followed me like a black cloud threatening rain. Reaching my house, I was greeted by the familiar sight of my mother's garden in the front yard, always bustling with the colors of spring. Red tulips, yellow daffodils, and vibrant blue hydrangeas, remnants of her green thumb that brought life to our home. "There she goes," she would proudly say, "the artist, nature is her canvas." But even the garden seemed somewhat muted today under the weight of my thoughts. Kicking my shoes off at the door, I trudged upstairs, the wooden steps creaking softly under my weight. The scent of freshly baked cookies wafted up from the kitchen, a staple of my mother's afternoon routine. "Hey, Pumpkin, how was school?" Her voice was cheery, yet it cut through me like a knife. "Fine." I managed while pretending to look for something in my backpack. "I have homework and stuff." "Okay, sweetie, just let me know if you want me to help." I could hear her busying herself around the kitchen, pots clattering, the oven door opening then closing with a soft thud. I pushed my bedroom door open, greeted by the clutter of my sanctuary, walls adorned with drawings of fantastical worlds, escape routes from this mundane reality. The sun was setting, casting a gentle orange glow across my sketches, and I felt the urge to flee into those worlds where everything made sense. Why can't life be like that? I whispered to myself, resigned to my fate as I flopped down on my bed. My mind raced with memories, images of laughter around the lunch table, stories shared with Mia, and the cold blade of betrayal when she chose popularity over our friendship. She was off with the in-crowd, wearing makeup, sharing secrets, while I was left to wallow in the shadows, just Clara, the girl who made bad jokes in class. I should be happy for her, I thought quickly, guilt creeping in uninvited. But why do I feel this emptiness? Why do I feel so lost? I turned to my desk, paper and pencils strewn about haphazardly, and began sketching, letting the graphite flow freely, releasing my frustration onto the page. A clown with a mischievous grin, baring sharp teeth, became my obsession, his face a reflection of my own twisted emotions. As I worked, thoughts of revenge surged, weaving their way through my mind. What if? I halted suddenly, the idea blooming, but the implications of it made my heart race. But revenge is never the answer, I reminded myself, yet against the backdrop of my hurt, it felt right. A knock on the door startled me, and my mother peeked her head in, the lingering scent of cookies still clinging to her. "Dinner is ready, you coming?" "Yeah, in a minute." I barely managed a nod, still lost in my thoughts. As I forced myself to clean up the mess scattered across the desk, I pondered the dynamic of my friendships, the cruelty of high school, and the shadow it cast over everything that once was. The idea of something more, something powerful, began to take root. Maybe I do want to turn the cycle back. I am tired of being the butt of the joke. Sighing heavily, I closed my sketchbook, letting it drop onto the desk with a weighty thud, my mind racing with possible scenarios. "They won't see it coming," I whispered softly to myself, a smile creeping onto my lips, dark yet thrilling. The table was set, the delicious aroma of food enveloping me as I joined my parents. The clattering of cutlery and soft chatter faded into the background as my thoughts continued to spiral, plotting under the easy smiles exchanged around the table. I caught my mother's eyes filled with warmth, the concern etched in their corners, and I wondered what she would say about my plans. "Are you okay?" My father's voice broke through, steady and kind. "You seem distracted tonight. Just a lot on my mind." I offered a half-hearted smile, but inside, it felt as if a storm was brewing. "Anything you want to talk about?" Mother inquired, her sincere expression making my heart tug with guilt. I shook my head quickly, looking down at my untouched plate, feeling the familiar dread bubble up. "No, I will figure it out." "Okay, but remember, we are always here for you, Clara," my father added gently, but the words drifted through me like plastic, lacking any real significance in this moment. I wanted to scream that I did not need them, that I was beyond their comfort, too far gone into my own dark thoughts. The flickering candles on the table painted their faces with shadows, and in those moments, I saw the support turning into shackles. I felt like a jester waiting in the wings, prepared to launch my act of revenge into the unsuspecting crowd. But for now, I would play my part. Hide behind smiles, laughter, and nods, while the shadow of the jester deepened within me, until the day I would unleash it upon those who had cast me aside. The darkness wrapped around my thoughts, tightening like a noose, and I let out a slow, shallow breath. I was much more than Clara, the lonely girl. I was about to become Clara, the architect of my own fate. As dinner ended and nightfall settled over Maplewood, I stared out of my bedroom window, the moon barely a sliver in the vast sky. "This is just the beginning," I whispered, almost to the moon above, all while the laughter of my classmates echoed in the corners of my mind, slowly morphing into a symphony of revenge waiting to be played. It was time to become the shadow, the puppeteer guiding the strings of their game, and I felt, for the first time, a tingle of exhilaration. This wasn't merely about revenge. It was about reclaiming my power. My room smelled like lavender, a soothing scent that hung in the air like a ghost of past comfort. The walls were painted a soft blue that I thought might block out memories, but the truth was that no color could wash away the feelings I had bottled inside since the day Ember stopped being my friend. I sat cross-legged on my bed, surrounded by a sea of clothes and books, my cell phone buzzing occasionally as if trying to get my attention, but I was too lost in my thoughts to notice. I stared at a photo of us, taken last summer, our faces glowing with laughter, eyes bright and carefree. It had been the last time everything felt right in my life. "Hey Clara, you still alive up there?" My older brother, Jason, yelled from downstairs. His voice broke through my reverie like an unwelcome storm cloud. I am, I shouted back, forcing my voice to sound stronger than I felt. It didn't matter what he thought. I was in a different world now, one where Ember was a fading memory and the weight of betrayal was like a ton of bricks on my chest. I flipped the photo over, hiding the smiles I felt were mocking me now. I had thought about it for weeks, how to get back at Ember. The voice inside my head whispered to me, nudging me closer to the dark corner of my thoughts where anger dwelled. She had taken everything from me, made me feel like I was nothing more than an afterthought, an unwanted shadow. It felt wrong to think of revenge as a plan, but it felt even more wrong to let her get away without facing something for what she did. I closed my eyes, imagining the perfect way to get even, a plan that would turn the tide, a move that would flip the scenario right back at her. The sound of the school bell echoed through my mind. Images of Ember flitted across my memory, how she laughed with her new friends, how she strutted down the halls like she owned them. I could almost hear her sharp, condescending voice saying, "You're just jealous, Clara. You always were." I could not let her keep winning, and I could not let her think I was weak. My phone buzzed again, and this time I picked it up. There was a message from Ella, a girl I occasionally hung out with but who had a reputation for being a bit of a drama queen. Guess who's the topic of gossip today? Ember. Apparently she had a major meltdown at cheer practice. Wow. I blinked at the screen, a flame of mischief igniting inside me. Maybe Ember was cracking under the pressure of her friendships. Maybe it was time for me to poke the bear, to see how far I could push before she realized I had a plan. I remembered that Ella had a way of spreading stories. She could turn a whisper into a roar. I could use that. I typed back quickly. What happened? Ella responded almost immediately. She was trying out for squad captain and totally blew it. Like I heard she forgot the routine. A mess. OMG, you gotta do something. Inside, I felt a spark of joy intermingled with something darker. Maybe I will do something, I typed back. My heart pounded as I thought about how my revenge might unfold. But I pushed the excitement down. I needed to be careful. I couldn't just dive into this head first. Ember had no idea the storm that was brewing for her. Let's meet up later, I sent off, hoping to orchestrate some plan that would put me back in control. I needed to gather intelligence, see how this could be twisted in my favor. Ella agreed, and we set a time and place, my heart racing with an electric thrill. The afternoon dragged on as I waited, each minute feeling like an hour. I threw on a thick sweater, feeling the fabric wrap around me like an embrace, a small comfort amidst my brewing chaos. I chose my favorite pair of jeans, the ones that always made me feel confident, and pulled my hair into a messy bun. As I glanced in the mirror, I practiced my expressions, steely confidence mixed with the perfect splash of nonchalance, like I didn't care about Ember, even though that was the lie I told myself. The truth sat like a weight on my shoulders. When it was finally time to meet Ella, I walked to the cafe downtown, where the walls were adorned with quirky art and where the smell of roasted coffee filled the air like a warm hug. I found a corner booth and slid into the seat, taking a deep breath. The cafe bustled around me, people laughed, cups clinked, and the baristas shouted out orders. It was comforting, a stark contrast to the turmoil in my mind. Ella arrived shortly after, her bright pink hair catching everyone's attention as she flounced in with an exaggerated wave. "Clara, you look so cute," she exclaimed, plopping down across from me. "Have you heard about Ember's drama?" "Just a little," I replied, feigning casual interest, even though my heart thumped hard at the thought of how I could use this to my advantage. "What exactly happened?" Ella leaned in, her voice dropping conspiratorially. "So she was at practice and tripped during the routine, like fell flat on her face in front of everyone. It was so embarrassing. Some of the girls were laughing and others were shocked. She totally lost her chance to be captain." "Wow," I said, taking that in. I felt a mixture of satisfaction and guilt. Part of me understood that everyone had their struggles, but another part of me relished the thought of Ember finally facing some kind of consequence for her actions. I wanted to see her shaken, just as I had been. "Do you think it's too much to post about it on social media?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper as if I was some mastermind plotting a heist. Ella's eyes widened, her smile broadened. "Oh my gosh, Clara, that would be legendary. We could create a meme. Ember's epic fail or something." I snickered, imagining the post taking over our high school's social media like wildfire. "But I need it to be subtle," I added thoughtfully, twirling my hair as I pondered the perfect phrasing. "I want people to talk. I want it to slip under her radar until it's too late." "Totally. We can brainstorm ideas. I have some great editing apps on my phone. Ella pulled her phone out, her fingers flying over the screen as she excitedly suggested punchy headlines and funny captions. As she talked, I noticed how her enthusiasm ignited something inside me. Planning the revenge felt good. It gave me purpose when I had felt so lost. The more we discussed, the more wild and outrageous the ideas became, each suggestion feeding into my desire to see Ember humiliated as she had humiliated me when she turned her back. We giggled, the sound mixing with the chatter and laughter of the cafe, but the laughter masked the underlying tension that clung to our conversation like a thick fog. Maybe we can even get some people to comment on it afterward, make it seem like it's blown up, Ella suggested as I sipped my hot chocolate, the rich sweetness coating my tongue and mingling with the bubbling excitement in my chest. Yes, that's brilliant. Ember will be absolutely mortified. My heart raced as I envisioned Ember discovering the post, her face turning red with anger or shame. The cafe filled with voices and laughter around us, and for a moment I felt invincible, as if nothing could touch me while I held the power of revenge in my hands. I prided myself in being smart and strategic. I loved the idea of pulling the strings from behind the curtain, simply watching the chaos unfold. As we finalized our plans, I felt an unexpected thrill at the prospect of what we were doing. I could close my eyes and imagine how it would all go down, how it would feel to watch Ember squirm, the same way I had squirmed that day she laughed at me in front of everyone. We need a catchy hashtag, I proposed. Something she can't forget. Ella nodded, already typing away furiously. How about Ember down? It's catchy and makes a statement. Perfect, I exclaimed, my voice edged with excitement. Let's do it. As the sun set outside, casting a warm golden glow against the cafe windows, I felt a sense of satisfaction wash over me. I was ready to shift the power dynamic, to take control of the narrative in my life. Ember would be the topic of discussion. She would wish she had never granted me this chance for revenge. I could feel the thrill coursing through me, awakening a new part of my identity. However, as the final plan took shape, a small voice in the back of my mind cautioned me. Was this truly the revenge I wanted? But I shoved that thought away. I had to be strong. I had to fight back. I had to show her that even when someone tries to knock you down, you can always rise up and hit back harder. I had waited too long to let go of the anger that fueled me, to let Ember keep walking away unscathed. Let's post it tonight, I said, my voice steady, and let it unravel first thing in the morning. Ella grinned, her excitement mirroring my own as we left the cafe, and I felt like I was finally stepping out of the shadows and into the light with every decision we made. This was only the beginning. As I walked home, my heart raced. I could taste the impending victory and imagine Ember's face when she saw her world start to shift beneath her feet. My plan was set, and my path was clear. Everything that had been weighing on me started to lift. The weight of words can be heavy, but they can also empower, and I was ready to wield my words like weapons. Finally ready to step into the battlefield, I stood at the edge of the Maplewood Park, the sun dipping low on the horizon, casting long shadows that stretched out like whispers of the past. The leaves crunched beneath my feet, a sharp reminder of the fall that had settled in, setting the stage for what I had planned. I glanced at my phone, the screen lighting up with a message from Ethan, the boy who had once made my heart race but now only stirred my anger. "You still want to talk?" it read, and just like that, my breathing quickened as memories flooded my mind like a tidal wave. "Do I want to talk?" I muttered under my breath, tossing my phone into my bag with a harsh clatter. The light from my phone still flickered like a beckoning flame, tempting me to respond, to pull him in. I was done being pulled in. I was done being a fool. I wanted justice for what Ethan had done, what he and his gang had turned me from a vibrant girl with dreams into a pariah, an invisible girl who blended into the background. "I'll show you," I hissed to myself, tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear. I was standing between the park's towering oak trees, their twisted branches silhouetted against the orange and purple sky, and each breath tasted like the rustle of leaves that reminded me of secrets long buried. I could still hear the laughter of the others, Ethan, Jesse, and Max, echoing in my memory, the derisive mirth that cut me deeper than any blade. "Clara," a voice called out, breaking the reverie, and I turned sharply. It was Jamie, my best friend, her eyes wide with concern. "There you are, I was looking for you everywhere." Jamie had curls of dark blonde hair that danced in the breeze, and her infectious energy was a stark contrast to the anger simmering inside me. "What do you want, Jamie?" said, my tone sharper than I intended. I just wanted to make sure you are okay, she said, stepping closer, her expression morphing into one of worry. You've been so different lately, like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. I forced a smile, the kind that barely reached my eyes. I'm fine, really just tired of everything, you know. Jamie tilted her head, her inquisitive gaze unwavering. It's because of Ethan, isn't it? You can tell me. I inhaled sharply at the mention of his name. Every mention felt like a thorn in my side, a reminder of the betrayal that had festered for months. What do you think he wants? I blurted out, crossing my arms defensively, as if it might shield me from the memories. Probably the same as always, she shrugged. A prank, maybe, or to make you feel bad like last time. I dislike him just as much as you do, you know that. He doesn't deserve a single moment of your time. Yet here I am, debating whether to give him another shot or something else. My hands clenched as I forced my mind to the flickering shadows of the past, replaying the moment the knife twisted deepest. Clara, please don't. Jamie's voice faded, and I saw her standing there frightened, her hands clasped tightly together. You're not that person, you're not the girl who plots revenge, you're better than that. Better, I repeated, my voice rising. Better than standing up for myself. Better than getting back at someone who took everything from me. You don't know what it's like. I might not know, but you can't just dive into darkness, Jamie pleaded, her eyes glistening with a mix of fear and concern. Revenge doesn't change the past. It'll only lead to more pain. Pain, I snorted bitterly. You think I'm not already in pain? I've spent too long in this agony, Jamie. They laughed at me, scorned me, pushed me to the sidelines, and I just stood there taking it, thinking it would change. It never changed. So what are you going to do? She asked quietly, taking a hesitant step forward, lowering her voice. What exactly do you plan? I ran my fingers through my hair, the words simmering in my mind like a boiling pot about to overflow. I plan to make them regret everything they put me through. I refuse to be weak anymore. Weakness isn't an option. The sun sank beneath the horizon, and the darkness hugged the park tighter, leaving us in a bubble of creeping shadows. Jamie's expression faltered, and she shook her head slowly as though I had struck her. You don't truly mean that, what you want. It can lead you down a road you can't come back from. Why do you care? I snapped, though somewhere deep down I felt the weight of her words. Why can't you just trust that I know what I'm doing? Because I love you like a sister, Jamie replied softly, her voice cracking. And I can't just stand by and watch you destroy your future for the sake of revenge. Love doesn't help me, Jamie, I said fiercely, my heart racing. Love doesn't erase what they've done. Then something shifted in my chest. A twinge of doubt nestled itself into my resolve, and I faltered. Was I really prepared to unleash this storm that raged inside of me? But just then, the flash of Ethan's smirking face flickered behind my eyelids, how he led them all against me like an orchestra conducting a cruel symphony. I shook my head to clear the image, fighting against the tide of memories. You don't have to fight your own battles alone, Jamie said, her voice barely above a whisper now. Let me help you, Clara. Whatever it is, we can figure it out together. No, this is mine to handle, I asserted, my pride sharpening my words. You don't know how deeply this runs. You don't understand the hurt I feel. My heart feels like it's been ripped open, and I just want to feel whole again. As I spoke, I could feel the weight of all my pent-up frustration uncoil. I was losing myself to the anger, to the very thing that was meant to empower me but now threatened to consume me. I desperately wanted her to understand. Just then, my phone buzzed again, the harsh sound cutting through the moment. I grabbed it, my heart pounding as I saw another message from Ethan. Meet me at the old playground. I froze, clutching the phone like a lifeline. Jamie's gaze darted between me and the screen, a silent plea for me to think carefully. I could feel tension coiling around us, tightening its grip, and suddenly I was torn between two worlds. In the playground, I scoffed, not realizing I had spoken out loud. What does he even want? Clara, Jamie cautioned, studying me intently. You don't have to go. And miss my chance, I shot back, my voice sharp. This could be the moment I've waited for. I need to face him. I need to let him know. Please listen to me, Jamie whispered, taking a shaky breath. It's all a game to him. He's playing with your emotions to get a response, and you can't let him win. But even as she spoke, a wicked sense of thrill rushed through me. The feeling of power, of control, of finally holding the reins of my own life, pulled me in like a magnet. I'm going, I declared firmly, brushing past her. Clara, no, she cried, but I was already striding away, the cracking sound of twigs underfoot a warning sign I chose to ignore. Let me be, I called over my shoulder, my mind was set. I have to do this. The playground came into view, the rusty swings swaying gently in the wind, ghosts of laughter dancing in the chilly air. The slide loomed like a giant's tooth, a reminder of all the innocent memories that now only felt contaminated by betrayal. I pushed those thoughts to the back of my mind, shaking off the suffocating weight of emotions. He was waiting for me, and I would not let him down. I stepped into the dim light of the street lamp flickering nearby, and as the light illuminated the area, I saw him leaning casually against the old wooden bench. His dark jeans and faded hoodie made him look almost innocent, but I knew better. I could still hear his laughter from that day in the cafeteria, the sharp jab of embarrassment crashing over me like a wave. "Clara," he called out, his tone smooth and deceptively inviting. "You actually came." "Surprised," I snapped, crossing my arms defiantly. His grin was infuriating, a spark of confidence that managed to push my fury even further. "You always were the curious one. What did you think I'd do? Ghost you after sending that message? Do you really think I care what you do or don't do?" I shot back, taking a step closer, feeling my heart race. "Maybe you should," he said, his voice dropping to that melodious tone that always made me second guess. "You seem distressed, Clara. I wanted to talk about things." Things. I spat, the rage boiling beneath my skin. "You mean the things you said behind my back, the way you rallied everyone against me?" His expression shifted, something dark flickering in his eyes, and it sent a chill down my spine. "Is that what this is about? You were a drama queen, you asked for attention, and I gave it to you. You can't blame me for that." "Excuse me," I gasped, fists clenched. "You were the one who made my life hell. You were the one who turned everyone against me." "Clara," he said, a dangerous edge creeping into his voice. "Why are you acting like such a child? I'm just here to make sure we are on the same page." "On the same page," I echoed, incredulous. "Is that what you call ruining my life? Because from where I stand, you've written a story that I want to see end." For a moment, he was silent, and I stood defiant, forcing my thoughts not to shrink back. An odd thrill coursed through me at the confrontation. Could this be it, the moment where I finally reclaimed my power? "What do you want, Clara?" he asked, and there was a sudden vulnerability beneath the bravado. "Why are you fighting me?" "Because I refuse to be the punchline of your joke," I replied firmly, my voice resonating in the stillness of the night. "Who says you even matter that much to me?" He spat, and for a split second I saw his mask slip, a glimpse of the insecure boy beneath all the bravado. "Let us be real. I don't care what you think. This is just a game to me." "Then why are you here?" I pressed, leaning in, feeling the tension wrap around us like a thick fog. "Maybe I wanted to see what you would do." "See what I would do?" I questioned, narrowing my eyes. "You think I'm just some puppet for you to play with? And what if you are?" He shrugged, and I could see the cocky smirk crawl back onto his face, igniting a firestorm within me. That cocky grin was a challenge I could not refuse. My mind raced, plotting the course as I considered the possibilities. "You think you're so clever, don't you?" "Clever or just smarter than you," he replied, the tone of superiority oozing from his voice. "If you think this is just a game, Ethan, you are the fool." "You know what I think?" he asked, standing straight, his persona shifting slightly. "I think you like the chase, that you enjoy this as much as I do, but Clara, I won't be caught. Perhaps it's you who needs to watch your back." Suddenly, the wind shifted, and I felt the chills seep deep into my bones. The darkness around us thickened as I concentrated on my plans, the way I would turn the tables on him and make him see the ripple of pain he had caused. Each word was coming fast, and with each confrontation, I felt the spark of rebellion ignite fiercer. "Our foolish games are almost over, Ethan," I said harshly, my voice ringing clear in the crisp air. "And trust me, you will wish you had never crossed me." "You think you can outsmart me?" He laughed, but the laughter sounded hollow. "Maybe not alone, but I have a few tricks up my sleeve." There was satisfaction in the way his brow furrowed, uncertainty flickering past that arrogant visor. "Is that a threat?" he challenged, but I could see the seeds of doubt creeping into his confident facade. "Maybe it is, maybe it isn't," I replied, my determination solidifying like concrete. Suddenly, a flood of adrenaline coursed through me, pouring heat into my veins. I realized in that moment I was no longer the girl hiding in the shadows. I was stepping into the light, ready to confront the monsters of my past. "Don't count on me being the same girl you once toyed with," I murmured, every word bolstered by steel. And just like that, there it was, the reckoning that had been simmering beneath the surface for far too long. I turned on my heel and walked away, leaving the shadows and the darkness behind me, while the wrestling chaos in my chest morphed into the resolve to finally regain control of my narrative. Beyond the park, the world echoed around me, pricking at my senses like the last grasp of sunlight straining to break through autumn clouds. I had chosen this path, a dangerous one where hope and vengeance danced a delicate waltz, and despite the tremors of fear, doubts flickered in the corner of my heart as I repeated the mantra, "It's time for you to see what you've done." With a firm resolve, I descended into the night, knowing this moment was only a small pebble against the larger mountain yet to rise. The war wasn't over. It was merely beginning. I stood at the edge of the old Maplewood cemetery, the bitter taste of frost on my lips as I took in the grave markers that jutted from the earth like tired sentinels, standing watch over secrets buried long ago. My heart raced. The autumn colors that splattered the landscape were nothing compared to the rage boiling inside me. Today was the day I would confront Sarah, the mastermind of my misery. I had spent all week preparing for this, gathering my strength like a warrior arming for battle. It was only fitting that I made this stand here, where everyone in Maplewood avoided talking about their past. My feet crunched against the gravel path, each step echoing with memories of betrayal and shame. I could clearly recall past moments when Sarah and I had laughed together, felt like close friends. But now all I saw were shadows of those moments, twisted into something sinister. My breath fogged in the cool air, matching the turmoil churning in my stomach. "You can do this, Clara," I whispered to myself. "You deserve to stand up for yourself." I knew that I had to confront Sarah, to lay bare the truth of how she had betrayed me. I clenched my fists, remembering every jibe, every snicker shared at my expense, how it had felt like ice in my veins. I looked around, the trees swaying gently, their leaves rustling like whispers of encouragement. I took one deep breath, ripe with the scent of decay and damp earth, and stepped deeper into the cemetery. Suddenly, I felt an unsettling presence. My heart skipped a beat as I turned to see Sarah standing there, her figure framed against the slanting rays of the afternoon sun. Her short hair glinted like dark polished stone, and her confident posture radiated entitlement the way perfume fills a room. She was definitely as beautiful as she had always been, but now she felt more like a predator than a friend. "Clara," she said, a smirk lifting the corners of her mouth. "What brings you to these lovely surroundings, planning a picnic among the dead?" I strained to keep my composure, anger bubbling just beneath the surface. "You think this is funny, Sarah? This is a joke to you. Relax, it's just a question." She flicked her hair over her shoulder, dismissing my tension while her eyes sparkled with amusement. "Or are you here to accuse me of something again? It was only a prank, Clara. You really need to lighten up. Do you remember what you did?" I stepped closer, forcing my voice to stay steady. "You thought it was hilarious to spread that rumor about me. You made sure everyone in our grade knew about it. All the mocking, all the whispers. Do you think that was funny? Because I sure didn't." She shrugged, shifting her weight as if indifferent. "Oh, come on, that was ages ago." "It was just a stupid joke, Clara. Get over it. People forget so quickly. Trust me, this is not worth your time." "But I can't forget," I pressed on, each word spilling forth like spilt ink on a bright canvas. "That's what you don't understand. It's as if you've erased my voice. I felt invisible. And every laugh, every giggle at my expense, it was like I was drowning and you were the one who pushed me in." I could feel my heartbeat pounding rhythmically against my ribs. I could almost hear it drowning out her chuckles. The anger roiling within me was a dark ocean, and I was the ship caught in its storm. But even in my rage, I was struck by how exceptionally calm she seemed. She had always been the calm one, the one who never seemed to care about the aftermath of her actions. "Seriously, would you get real for a second?" She rolled her eyes. "You were just being sour and overly dramatic. Overly dramatic. You think it was easy being the laughingstock of the entire school." My voice rose. I dug my nails into my palms, trying to channel my emotional pain into something constructive. "You think it didn't hurt. Humiliation isn't some fleeting moment, Sarah. It transforms you." I inched closer, feeling the bitter frost chill my resolve. "And maybe instead of pretending to be the queen bee, you should try." "Try what?" she interrupted, her tone suddenly sharper. "You mean try being a victim forever?" "Because it's getting kind of sad to watch you mope around, Clara." I hesitated, a pang of uncertainty slicing through my anger. Was she right? Had I been wallowing too long? I had convinced myself this confrontation was for justice, but it began to feel like I had turned into the loser I so despised. "I am not a victim. I've spent far too long letting you define me." "Then do something about it," she replied. "Make me. If you think you can just march in here and turn me into the bad guy, you'd better have a plan." The challenge in her gaze ignited a spark of resolve in my heart. "You will not silence me anymore," I declared, conviction surging like electricity in my veins. I had avoided this moment for so long, and now that I stood before her, fearlessly confronting my past, I refused to let her twist my words or belittle my feelings. No more games. It's time for your truth to be exposed. Her smile faltered for just a moment. What truth? It was just a stupid joke. But it had consequences, I continued, my voice steady now. I lost friends, I lost confidence. I lost so much of myself trying to rebuild after the wreckage you left behind. You may think it was nothing, but it wasn't just a joke for me, Sarah. I took a deep breath, letting my words hang in the crisp autumn air. The world around us faded into the background, and for a moment, it felt like just the two of us were standing in that cemetery. There was an undeniable power in putting my feelings into words. I am taking back the power you stole from me. She shifted, clearly uncomfortable now, her earlier bravado slipping away like autumn leaves blown off their branches. What do you think you can do? You're yelling at me in a graveyard. This is so pathetic. It's not about where I am, I pressed, my passion igniting some deeper part of me. It's about who I am becoming. I want others to know that I won't stand by and let you bully anyone anymore. Every word felt like a step away from the shadows of my past and towards something brighter. For a moment, silence hung between us like a fragile thread. I could almost hear the distant cries of crows, their harsh calls breaking the stillness. I saw Sarah's expression waver. The confidence she always wore like armor seemed to slip just a bit. You really think you can make it different? You think you can ruin me with your words? I don't need to ruin you. You're doing just fine on your own, I countered. You rely on fear and intimidation, but fear is a poor foundation. Enjoy any temporary power you feel you have while it lasts. You definitely have some nerve there, Clara, she replied, stealing a step back as if my words had stung. But you still don't get it. You can't just change how people see you because you feel all empowered, right? The damage is done. You're wrong, I shot back, fire igniting in my belly. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it is possible. I can regain my voice. Maybe not everyone will see me the way I want, but I refuse to be the girl who hides in the shadows. Not anymore. Her icy demeanor cracked just a little, and I seized the moment. You won't ride on the backs of others' fears and insecurities to elevate yourself. It's time someone stood against you. You think you can take me down just by talking? She challenged, though I sensed the tremor in her voice. People like me, they don't just go away because someone feels like saying something. If all you rely on is superficial popularity, then yes, when the walls of your facade crumble, you will fall. I crossed my arms, daring her to argue. She glanced around the cemetery, her posture loosening slightly. There was something unsettling shaking within her now, perhaps a well of fear at the thought of losing her throne. You really think your little speech can change this? Come on, Clara, we both know you're not strong enough for that. Ah, I said with a smile that held no joy, but I am gaining strength. By refusing to let you take my voice, I am stronger than you'll ever know. The weight of my words seemed to linger in the air for a moment until Sarah straightened, flipping her hair defiantly as she gathered her pride. I don't need your permission to walk away from this, she bit out. This conversation is over. Then go, leave, I shouted, feeling a rush of triumph flood through me. But remember this, you cannot erase the past, and karma has a way of catching up. You may be the queen of Maplewood, but empires built on cruelty don't last forever. I watched her turn on her heel and storm away, her boots clattering against the stones, leaving behind a trail of scorn. As the tension in my chest eased away, I took a moment to absorb the chill of the air around me. I felt lighter somehow, as if I had cast off both a weight and a shadow, reclaiming my independence. I inhaled deeply, the sharp, cold air grounding me, encasing warmth of my growing courage. Steps thudded behind me, heavy with the remnants of pain I had carried for too long. Clara. A soft voice broke through the silence. I turned to see Laura, my friend, standing uncertainly at the edge of the graves, her expression a mixture of concern and curiosity. I saw you too. Was that really Sarah? She asked, her brow furrowed. I nodded, exhaustion roll my shoulders like heavy stone. But I think I finally said what I'd needed to say. I didn't want to be afraid anymore. Laura stepped closer, her blue eyes wide with understanding. You stood up to her. That was brave, Clara. Really brave. Thanks, Laura, I replied, a small smile tugging at my lips. I just wish it hadn't taken me so long to do it. Better late than never, she replied, her voice soothing like a gentle breeze against my weary heart. Think of all the people you opened up for, all the people who are tired of Sarah's reign. Yeah, I suppose, I murmured, glancing back toward where Sarah had disappeared. It just doesn't feel like a victory yet. That's okay. It's a journey, she said firmly. All the best journeys start with a single step, right? I drew in a breath, combining the air around us with a newfound hope. You're right, and maybe this is just the first step of many. As we turned to leave the cemetery behind us, I felt a stirring within me. The turning tide had begun, and I was ready to embrace the course ahead. I stood in front of the old Maplewood High School, the sun casting long shadows in the early morning light. It had been a long time since I felt this way, a conflicting mix of adrenaline and fear surging through my veins. I remembered the last time I had stood here, the weight of betrayal pressing down on me like a heavy storm cloud ready to burst. My heart raced as I clutched the crumpled paper in my hand, my mother's handwritten note that had survived the flames of that fateful night. The warmth of the sun felt foreign, almost mocking as it illuminated the path ahead towards the gymnasium where the final rally would take place. I took a deep breath to steady myself. Today, everything would change. "Clara!" a familiar voice called out. I turned to see Jamie, my closest ally, rushing towards me, her red hair bouncing with each hurried step. "You ready for this?" she asked, her eyes wide with anticipation. "As ready as I'll ever be," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. "Have you seen Sam yet?" "Not since this morning. He was helping set up the sound system." Jamie's expression shifted slightly. "Are you sure about letting him in on this?" I glanced away, my heart tightening at the thought of my brother. He had always been the one to defend me, but this time was different. "I think he needs to know," I said softly, the echoes of the past creeping back into my thoughts. "He deserves to hear the truth." Jamie nodded, though I could see the worry in her eyes. "Just remember what we talked about. Stay focused. This is for you." I took another deep breath and nodded in agreement. Today was not just about revenge, it was about reclaiming my life, my peace. As we entered the gymnasium, the scent of sweat and popcorn filled the air, mingling with the vibrant chatter of my classmates. Banners decorated the walls, each one a testament to school spirit. But I could not shake the feeling that beneath the excitement, the pressure was mounting, the atmosphere thick with unspoken tension. I scanned the room, looking for familiar faces among the crowd. My heart raced when I spotted Christina, the queen bee of Maplewood. She was surrounded by her loyal entourage, the very girls I had once called friends. Their laughter echoed in the hall, but it was empty, like echoes of a time long gone. I felt Jamie's hand on my back, nudging me forward as we approached the stage where the student council president stood, microphone in hand. I took one last glance at Christina, her perfectly styled hair and designer clothes a sharp reminder of the world I had once inhabited. "Clara, are you okay?" Jamie whispered, breaking me from my trance. "I will be as soon as this is over," I replied, clenching the paper tighter in my fist. The rally unfolded as expected, with students cheering and chanting school slogans, but I found it difficult to concentrate. Every ounce of my being was focused on the moment that would change everything. The calm before the storm. As the rally reached its climax, I felt a surge of bravery wash over me, and I glanced at Jamie, who nodded encouragingly. It was time. I climbed up the steps to the stage, trembling slightly at the sight of hundreds of eyes fixated on me. The microphone felt foreign in my grasp, but I squared my shoulders, drawing strength from the memories of what happened that night. Hey everyone," I began, and immediately the room fell silent. My heart raced as I peered into the sea of faces, the anticipation palpable in the air. "I know this rally is about school spirit and connection, but I need to address something important, something that has been buried for far too long." I paused, my mind racing as I searched for the right words. Glancing over at Jamie, I saw her nodding and her confidence flowed through me. "Last year, my life changed forever," I continued, my voice stronger now. "I lost someone I loved, someone who meant the world to me, and I need you all to understand why." The murmurs began to ripple through the crowd, and I took a deep breath, letting my gaze meet Christina's. "Last summer, I was in a fire that took my mother away from me, but it was never just an accident." A sharp intake of breath echoed through the crowd, and I saw confusion flash across some of their faces. "What are you talking about?" Christina hissed, her expression shifting to one of disdain. "That is so not true." "Oh, it is true," I shot back, a hint of defiance edging into my tone. "You all remember that night, you threw it in my face. You laughed when you called me the girl whose mother burned to a crisp." A gasp rippled through the crowd, eyes widening in horror. "Clara, stop." Sam shouted from the edge of the stage, anger written all over his face. "You don't have to do this." "No, Sam," I replied, surprising myself with the conviction in my voice. "I do." I turned back to the crowd, my heart pounding as I prepared to unveil the truth. It was not just an accident, it was orchestrated, and I know who is responsible. The weight of my words hung heavy in the air like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. The crowd whispered among themselves, a mix of disbelief and curiosity washing over their faces. "What are you saying?" a voice called out. I took a deep breath, glancing at Jamie for support. "Christina Miller," I said, my voice steadier than ever. "You set that fire." Gasps and murmurs echoed through the gymnasium, and I could see Christina's eyes widen in shock. "You're insane," she spat, her perfectly manicured hands clenching in anger. "Really think I would? You and your friends," I interjected, embracing the rush of adrenaline coursing through me. "You were jealous of me. You wanted to take everything from me and watched as it burned away. I have proof." I raised the crumpled paper in my hand, the one that held the confession I had managed to extract from one of Christina's closest friends. Anna was scared. She admitted everything. She told me how you planned it, how you thought it would be funny to teach me a lesson. "You're lying." Christina's voice was shrill, her complexion pale as she realized the implications. The room trembled with tension. Students shuffled in their seats, unsure whether to back away or step forward. I continued, my voice rising in fury. "Lying, I have your own friend's confession, Christina. I am not the weak little girl you picked on anymore. This is my truth, and it will shatter yours." I raised my chin defiantly. "I never wanted revenge, but you took my life from me. You deserve to face the consequences." Silence fell over the crowd, the only sound my rapid heartbeat resonating in my ears. I could see fear reflecting in Christina's eyes, the realization of her impending downfall dawning upon her. "Clara, please," she managed to plead, desperation creeping into her voice. "Don't do this." "It is too late for that," I replied coldly. "The truth always comes out, no matter how deep you bury it." Just then, a ripple of movement surged through the crowd as a figure pushed forward. It was Anna, Christina's former friend, her face pale and eyes wide, stepping onto the stage beside me. "Clara, wait," she shouted, collapsing in front of me, her voice shaking. "I was scared, we were all scared. Christina." "What, afraid it would ruin her reputation?" I interrupted, my tension mixed with confusion. "You were part of it, you could have said something." Anna shook her head, tears pooling in her eyes. I know, we were stupid and young. I didn't think it would go that far. I just wanted to fit in. Fit in at the cost of my mother's life." My voice trembled with anger, the pain bubbling beneath the surface. "You won't ever understand what that feels like." "I'm so sorry," she cried, desperation spilling from her lips. "I didn't know she would die. I swear on my life it was supposed to be a prank. Christina pushed it too far." "Do you think that makes it any better?" I shot back, my voice laced with venom. "Do you think the ashes of my mother will forgive you?" I turned back to the audience, lifting my chin. "The truth hurts, but it is better than hiding behind a facade of lies. Christina Miller, you may have thought you could control everything, but today I take back my power." The audience erupted into murmurs, their expressions a blend of shock and realization. I felt the weight of the world shift off my shoulders as I finally let my truth resonate in the air. The shame and fear that had bound me for so long began to dissolve with each word spoken. "You wanted to destroy me, but look at me. Here I stand, amongst all of you, stronger than I have ever been." "Clara, you can't do this," Christina shouted, her voice breaking under pressure. "You have no choice but to stop while you still can." "No one is stopping me," I declared, feeling liberated by the words as they surged forth from deep within me. "This chapter is mine to write." As the crowd began to murmur and nod in agreement, I could feel a sense of unity swelling around me. Today was not just about revenge, it was about reclaiming a piece of my life. Loveless betrayal had transformed into an empowering statement as I stood strong, defiant before them all. Christina's facade began to crack as the walls she had constructed started to crumble under the weight of the truth. "You think this is over?" she sneered, her bravado wavering. "You think everyone will believe you?" "No," I replied, injecting confidence into my voice. "What matters is not just whether people believe me. What matters is holding you accountable for your actions. I will not be a victim anymore." My words hung in the air, and a surge of applause erupted from the audience, drowning out Christina's panicked attempts to regain control. In that moment, as I faced the crowd, a weight lifted and the morning sun broke through the clouds, flooding the room with light. I felt a profound sense of freedom, one that transcended my pain and heartbreak. This was not just about revenge. This was about healing, about understanding that darkness cannot extinguish the light of truth. The cheer grew louder, surrounding me like an embrace. I could barely distinguish it from my own heartbeat thundering in my ears, Yet I marveled at the realization that I was no longer alone. I was standing on the precipice of a new dawn, ready to face whatever came next, the past serving as a guide but not a prison. And as I stood proudly on that stage, I knew that, whether or not my old life crumbled away, I was finally free to rise.